So we got some absolutely massive, and very much bittersweet news regarding Kingdom Hearts, which of course is including Kingdom Hearts 4. Welcome back, my friends, to another video here on the channel. It's been a minute since we've talked about Kingdom Hearts because there really hasn't been a lot to cover. You guys know I'm a massive fan. We've been talking a lot about Kingdom Hearts, you know, through the past few years and whatnot. And this might be one of the sadder videos, well, bittersweet, because there's some sad news in here. You know, man, the mastermind behind it all, Mr. Nomura, right? It's I don't know how to say his first name, Suya Nomura, I believe is how you pronounce it. There's a whole interview with him. He's only 53 years old, I believe, from looking at it right. He was born October 8th, 1970. So he's 53 years old. He's worked on a lot of stuff like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, different things like that. You know, obviously he's known as the mastermind behind Kingdom Hearts. But he, in this interview, he's actually talking a little bit about his retirement as well and what that's going to look like and what the end of Kingdom Hearts is going to look like. So I'm going to read through this interview for you guys. If you do enjoy this one, again, consider leaving a like, subscribe for more, and check out all the links down in the description below. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump straight into this. So in this interview, there's many different things he was asked. So he says many of the works that you work on have complex settings. You know, how do you put these together, implement them on set? He says, you know, he says, I don't think that people on set understand it perfectly either. Basically goes on to, you know, say when other staff members explain the settings and characters of the voice actors during recording, staff members ask, is this okay? Their exchange is like, no, it's not. And then he laughs. However, you know, that can't be helped. You know, as I'm the only one who understands the parts of the characters that aren't drawn, so I'm the only one who thinks about the complicated storyline fluctuating in various directions. Conversely, he says, I encourage staff members to be proactive in asking me questions and pointing things out to me. Then he says, is there something like a setting materials collection? He says, there are some things I personally take notes on so I don't forget them, such as footsteps of important people, future developments, and so on, including times that have been haven't been depicted. He says, so that's not something you share. He says, no, I keep that a secret. And he laughs. However, if there is something I need, I'll suddenly write a setting explanation in the middle of the scenario so that staff can understand. And then it goes on to say, I think there are hints that span the series in the Kingdom Hearts series, but how do you keep track of these? He says, I've written quite a bit in the memo I mentioned earlier, but I ask the staff to remember it, and I like watching videos. So he says, so I look at gameplay videos and reviews on YouTube, which is pretty fascinating and interesting to say the very least. But he says, basically, rather than looking back at my notes, I ask the staff to remember it and ask them what happened in past titles. So even the game is even so complicated where he's apparently having, you know, trouble keeping up with all the nuances, because it is a very complex story if you've been following the game at all for any amount of years. It says, you also watch analysis videos. Do you ever think, quote, I got it right, so I'll change it, end quote, or I don't understand it at all? He says, I watch it because I think it's purely interesting. Rather, I often think it's not as complicated as I thought it would be. I'm often impressed by how much they've looked into it. However, for example, some people point out the connection to the Final Fantasy series, but the scenario writers for both are different, and no matter how much I've been involved in both, there is no connection to other titles. He goes on to say, the interviewer, I don't think the Kingdom Hearts series was expected to develop the way it is now from the first game. As the series progresses, the number of settings and characters increases, and it becomes increasingly difficult to make the story coherent. Do you always improvise these things? It says, I've had the idea of going in this direction since the first game. As I said earlier, I've been taking notes on the future developments. If something doesn't fit, I'll improvise on the spot. If, sorry, it's true that I don't, I didn't work out the details at the time of Kingdom Hearts release, or sorry, I as in one, Kingdom Hearts released in 2002, but I thought about the next one and then the next one, you know, together and worked towards that. So when I was making Kingdom Hearts 3 released in 2019, it says, I naturally included Kingdom Hearts 4, and moved the whole thing forward thinking about it. He says this year, the smartphone app title Kingdom Hearts Missing Link is scheduled to release. Are you concerned that by developing an important storyline on an app or handheld game console, more players will be unable to follow the story? He says yes, and he laughs. So the story unfolds in a timeline that is much older than the consumer Kingdom Hearts series. However, as everyone has said, Kingdom Hearts 4 was just announced, but it's really just like Kingdom Hearts 13, basically, he says. There are, of course, connections even outside of the numbered titles, but I think you'll be able to enjoy Kingdom Hearts on a deeper level. However, this time, both Kingdom Hearts Missing Link and Kingdom Hearts 4 are being made with a stronger focus on being new titles rather than sequels. For example, as a new attempt, I've had staff who have never worked on the Kingdom Hearts series participate in the scenario. I'll be involved in the end, but in the sense that the writers who don't know Kingdom Hearts are creating the base, I don't think it's a work that I have to do. After all, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link is a blank history, so it's assumed that there are gaps. If you know it, you'll be able to enjoy it more deeply. It goes on to say, just as it is difficult to catch up with a long-running manga title from, the first volume, the Kingdom Hearts series also has a large number of titles, so it seems like the same problem will arise. What are your thoughts on acquiring new users in the future? He says, Mr. Nomura says, please let me know, and he laughs. As I said before, I do think of Missing Link and 4 as a reset. So this is very interesting. So he's thinking Missing Link and 4 as a reset. He says, I wanted to end it with 3, or rather reset it. So I appointed new writers and even made a new logo to make it easier for people to get into it. So very interesting that he says something about like a reset with these games. So that's what the change in the logo meant, the interviewer says. He says, those who know the ending of 3 will understand that the reason Sora ended like that was to reset the story up to that point. So 4 should be easier to get into than previous games. He says, I think that if people who like Kingdom Hearts touch it, they'll feel like this is it, but we're making it with the hope that as many new people as possible will play it. Interviewer says, you said in a previous interview that in Kingdom Hearts 4, you spent a lot of time in the Quadratum, a field similar to Shibuya. What was your intention in bringing a more realistic setting to work that was a completely fantasy world? Nomura says, there are a few reasons, but I like worldviews that are slightly different from possible reality, rather than ones that are too false. It's the same with movies, but if the world is too zero-based, I can't really get into it. So I feel like I'm dreaming in settings that are based in Shibuya, but not the real Shibuya. Rather than, complete fantasy, I think that unrealistic within reality fits the fantasy view well. And then there's only 3 more questions from the interview, and it goes on to say, even in manga, for example, Tokyo Ghoul is set in Tokyo, and Jujutsu Kaisen, if I'm pronouncing that right, is set in Shibuya. There may be manga readers and game players who like fantasy that is closer to reality. And Nomura says that's probably true. I think it's easy to empathize with. He says also, I thought that medieval high fantasy works have always been something that many people make even without me, he says. In 2007, I released a work set in Shibuya called This Wonderful World, and recently a lot of works set in Shibuya have been released. Everyone has come to Shibuya, and he laughs. And then the final 2 questions, it says, it certainly seems like there are more and more works based in reality, Japan. I'd like to ask you about the unreality within reality. At the beginning of Kingdom Hearts, there's a monologue that says, I don't really understand if this world is really real. Does that mean that the idea of Quadratum was already in the works? The name Quadratum didn't exist at the time, Nomura says, but the idea was there. It was a long-term plan that I knew would come to this point someday, and then he laughs. And then finally, after 20 years, the plot will finally be resolved, the interviewer says. My last question, Mr. Nomura, do you foresee the end of the Kingdom Hearts series? Nomura says, speaking of things without dreams, I only have a few years left until I retire. That's surprising. We'll talk about that in a second. So it's like I have to decide whether to retire first or finish the series first, and he laughs. However, I'm making Kingdom Hearts 4 now with the intention of it being a story that will be completed. End quote. That's incredible. Lots of stuff in this interview. I wanted to read it all, for you guys. I'm surprised that he says he only has a few years left until he retires. He's only 50 years old, but I don't know what he considers a few years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I don't know. Obviously, these games take a long time to make, as we've seen. It's crazy. It's also worth noting the Final Fantasy VII Remake project is also reaching its climax. We have one more game in that series. Nomura's been involved with, of course. I mean, what does the future hold? You know, it's very interesting to see that he's mentioning Quadratum. And how, you know, and you know, he was asked about that quote, right? I don't really understand if this world is really real. So, you know, we kind of see like we're going to this more realistic world, and it seems like maybe Nomura, what he's doing, and I don't know, like, you know, when he says about, you know, Kingdom Hearts 4, it's gonna be a story that will be completed. Does he mean that Kingdom Hearts 4 in and of itself is going to be a complete story? You know, kind of like Kingdom Hearts 3 was, Kingdom Hearts 2, etc. Or does he mean that's going to complete the whole like kind of franchise? Because what's interesting is that obviously, you know, with up to Kingdom Hearts 3, they said it ends the kind of goodness, what, I'm drawing a blank now. I'm drawing a complete blank. Anyways, it ended that saga, and that, you know, we're going into a new saga. So it would be kind of weird if just, you know, Kingdom Hearts 4 is kind of the end of it. I don't know. I'm really a little bit confused about that, but it seems as though, you know, whatever's happening is he's trying to tie it all kind of back together and give us some answers that, you know, were kind of posed, you know, the questions were posed way back in the beginning, right? And kind of going back to this whole real world. Was this whole thing a dream? I mean, you know, kind of makes you think, you know, throughout the years, Kingdom Hearts, I mean, let's be honest, it's made a lot of people cry, right? It's a very kind of wholesome, touching game. But if they go that direction, I mean, man, I think longtime fans are just going to lose their minds. We're like, not, you know, just in the sense of like, there's going to have a complete breakdowns, you know, like it's just crying profusely, because I mean, just to come full circle and be like, oh yeah, this whole thing was just kind of a dream. And you know, especially for the fans that grew up on it, you know, you're a kid, you're playing in these worlds, it's so dreamlike, and you come out and it's just like, yeah, this whole thing was just a dream. You're grown up now. It's like, wow, okay, you know, that's kind of seems like the direction it's going. So anyways, there's a lot more we can talk about and whatnot as well. And there's a lot more actually. That this was just page 3 of the interview. There's actually other pages in this interview where he talks about other things. He talks a little bit more. He talks kind of about Final Fantasy VII and whatnot on page 2 and whatnot. So he's talking about that. That's probably maybe a different topic. We're not going to talk about that in this video. We kind of wanted to keep this video as focused on Kingdom Hearts and whatnot as well. You know, page 1 and page 2 is pretty much Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and whatnot. So maybe we'll talk about that in a different video. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below about this section, about Kingdom Hearts, and what you make out of it all. Can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see, you know, what Kingdom Hearts 4 ends up being. Man, I don't think I'm ready for it. I don't think a lot of us are going to be ready for it, man. I think it's gonna really kind of, you know, break hearts. All right, where it's gonna pull. It's gonna take us on an emotional roller coaster. So it should be fun, though. It should be fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Until the next one, game on. I'll see you guys soon. Hey, you! What are you doing? Join the Skeleton Army. Do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow might never come. The Earth is gonna fade. That's inevitable. The next second of your life's not even promised, so you better think about where you're going. And you might as well just join the Skeleton Army. Plus, we do kind of like you a little bit, so it'd be nice to see you around here. But if you don't want to, hey, your loss. See you later.